Good morning and welcome to the Know It to Grow It program here at the Garland County Library. This is our March program. We're so excited. We won't have a program in April here, but in May, on the 13th of May, we'll have a presentation on growing your own microgreens with Fat Rabbit Farms' Kyle Manning. So we're excited about that coming up. And today we're super excited to have our own Ramona Slick do a presentation. It's the hidden gem of the Ozarks, the Ozark Folk Center's Heritage Herb Garden. Ramona is a second-year master gardener, but she's been organic gardening for over 50 years, specializing in companion planting. She's also a member of the Herb Society of America Ozark unit, which is up in Stone County, and she is our Garland County representative in the Committee of 100. Which is a big deal up in the Ozark Folk Center. And she'll tell you more about that in her presentation. She is a wealth of knowledge. We're thrilled to have her as a master gardener and here speaking with us, and you will definitely enjoy her program. Ramona Slick.
Well, it's really great to be here today to speak to you, and I hope that I can share with you as a private citizen of the great state of Arkansas some more information about a unique state park that we have that many people have never even had the opportunity or taken the opportunity to go visit. And I just need to check out first, can everybody hear me okay? Okay, great. I am a bit technology challenged, I will tell you that, and I had a little bit of an issue with uploading my pictures that I have, and so Audrey's kind enough that she's been helping me along with that. But we're going to go ahead and try to get going with this. Let me see if I can get started here. Okay, yes, we're going to talk about the Ozark Folk Center State Park, and I'm going to give you a little background on this. My husband and I were in the 70s. We were riding our motorcycle up through the Ozarks. We went up Highway 7, Scenic 7, when it was still beautiful and scenic. And we went to Jasper, spent the night in Lost Valley area. We just enjoyed ourselves so much. And we thought the next day we would try to follow from the Upper Buffalo to where it goes and condenses with the White River. So we went on the upside, the north side of that, and followed some roads in the old-fashioned way. You know, no GPS. We actually had an antique called a map. And so we went through there, and we ended up coming down through the Leatherwood Wilderness and some other areas that were called wilderness, and it was that we didn't see a soul, but the mountains were very twisty, turny, and quite beautiful. And we came into the north side of the Mountain View, and there in Stone County, and we were looking for a place to spend the night. And so we found a place there. And then as we were there, we discovered that they had this big sign for the Ozark Folk Center. And they also had cabins there. And so we were like, wow, well, let's go check that out. Being people from the 60s, we were rather impetuous, so there we went. And so we were riding our motorcycle back and forth up the mountain, and I'm telling you, we're at the very top of the mountain, and then you happen to go up this real sharp grade, and there it is, the opening. You're at the top of the mountain, and there's the Ozark Folk Center. And so we got off our bike, and of course we were hungry, so we went into what at that time was called the Iron Skillet Restaurant. It is now called the Skillet because apparently there was some kind of a trademark from a Texas restaurant for iron skillets, so they had to be correct and just trim it down to Skillet Restaurant. And we ate there, and then when we walked outside of the restaurant, we noticed that, and the food was very good. We noticed that there was some kind of sound that I had not heard before, having grown up outside of Cleveland, Ohio, where the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is established. And my husband, having listened to a lot of Motown music, we were like, wow, what's this? And it said, why, I think that's bluegrass. And I said, bluegrass? What's that? I don't know. Let's go find out about it. So we went over to the administration building, and this is where things get dicey on my pictures, folks. I thought I had everything in order. They probably aren't. So that's why I'm going to tell you this prelude first, because I'm not sure what we're going to get when we go through these slides. And thank goodness the library is going to start having these technology classes, because I'm gonna be right there, a front rower. So we'll see if I get to well, there's a banjo player for you. One of the interesting things is as you walk into the Ozark Folk Center, they have a big administration building now, which is quite lovely. And you're gonna see some beautiful, beautiful pictures and things showing you the history of the Ozark Folk Center and how it began. And that's what I want to talk to you briefly about, and then we'll get more into the Heritage Herb Garden and the slides. When you go in there, you're going to learn that the Ozark Folk Center is dedicated to the people of the Ozark Mountains and their culture. And so the preservation of that culture was very much in the minds of some very wonderful people. I don't know how many of you have ever heard of the song or remember the song, The Battle of New Orleans.
Yes.
Okay, well, then you would probably know the songwriter of that came from Mountain View area, Stone County, and that was Jimmy Driftwood, and that was his stage name, actually. He and his wife, Cleta, were teachers in the area, and he wrote jingles all the time to help his history students remember things like the Battle of 1812, the War of 1812. So he wrote the Battle of New Orleans, in 1814, it took a little trip along with Colonel Jackson down the Mississippi. Anyway, that song was very, very popular and became a #1 hit in the late 50s. But Jimmy Driftwood and several other concerned people in the area wanted to make sure that they would be able to preserve the heritage that they were seeing drift away from people as all the young people were moving away to find jobs. And if you go up through those little towns to get to Mountain View, like Shirley and Leslie, which were named after railroad foremen's wives, generally speaking, or relatives, you'll see that there was a great timber industry that was in the area. And then when they had used up all the timber, the railroads kind of pulled out, and a lot of those towns had to reinvent themselves. So if you're going up through there now, you will see that many of them have taken to doing that. They have fabulous little bakeries and little Skylark Cafe and Serendipity Bakery that's outside of Leslie. And coming through Shirley's, a quaint little town, they've got all their little antique shops opening back up. You're crossing a little Red River to get through there. But let me go back to the Ozark Folk Center. This was a dream of several people getting together, and they went ahead and were approved, and they eventually the state park system took it over to help financially to keep that open, and that was in the early 70s. As a matter of fact, last year was the 50th anniversary of the Ozark Folk Center State Park, your state park. And it's unique in that when you go in there, you have craft shops, and craftspeople will be there waiting for you in their little cabins, workshops. And I brought some samples of some of the things that they do there. But they are there to show people and apprentice people about things that may become lost in the future. Very similar to the culture many times in the Appalachians, which is probably heard a little more about because it's closer to the East Coast and there's a lot more people that way. But when you go up into the Ozark Mountains, it is a rugged territory, and you're looking at how these people survive. The Heritage Herb Garden kind of shows that. We bring into the Heritage Herb Gardens many plants that are native plants that the people would have used in foraging. And also we have plants that are pass-along plants, which were really popular. And I brought a couple of those with me too today. So let me just get into these slides and show you some of the things that we have up there to share with everyone. And I am not employed by them. I am a member of the Herb Society of America that is the Ozark unit, and we help support the Heritage Herb Garden, in particular the Children's Mountain Garden. And I am a member of the Committee of 100, which was a group of very forward-thinking ladies from all parts of the state. Originally 75 counties were represented. And that was also created. This is the 50-year anniversary of the Committee of 100. And the ladies got together. They had a very powerful lady, Bessie Smith, who had been an educator in the state and seemed like she was very well connected with an awful lot of county judges or knew somebody in almost every county that was. So they started off by having a representative from every county to help preserve the heritage, because it's an Arkansas heritage, the Ozarks, and also to have 25 members at large. So we have been very fortunate in that we've been able to support the mission and the culture of the Ozark Folk Center and its peoples. The people that are in there doing crafts are wonderful. Many of them actually worked at Branson. Maybe they wanted to scale back and not have all the glitz and the rides and all of that. When you take children, which we have done for many years, our own children and grandchildren through that area, we wanted them to see, without getting sidetracked by many other things, what was going on. And they do offer internships and apprenticeships in many of these places, and others have gone on to create their own businesses from those, like the blacksmithing apprenticeship. And then the music is a really big thing. And let me just mention this. We heavily support through concerts. We have a beautiful theater up there, seats 1,000 people. It's very comfortable seating. We have music for people to keep up and enjoy the bluegrass and the folk music. And it's actually the folk music center of America. They have banjo and fiddle contests throughout the summer. We have coming up April the 20th, which conflicts a little bit with the plant sale that the Master Gardeners from Garland County have on the 19th and the 20th of April. But the 20th, they have what they call the Next Generation Concert, and these are kids that participate in a program called Music Roots, which we heavily support, the Committee of 100. When you go and walk through the gardens, you're going to listen, and you're not just going to hear breeze and leaves shuffling and birds. You're going to hear the bluegrass music, because they have actually got musicians up there at the very top of the mountain, and their music is wafting down as you're walking through the gardens, and it's just lovely and wonderful. And I had no idea that I liked that kind of music until I went there. So from a hard rocker, I went to loving the folk music. Okay, let's look at some pictures here. Okay, right here, like I say, these are not going to be in order. I'm sorry, I'm technology challenged. At my age, the curve is very steep. Here is the root cellar that is behind the Shannon cabin. So people that are thinking about root cellars, feel free to come up here. You're going to walk along these wonderful paved sidewalks and things so that you can get around. Let me mention also that ADA accommodations are here. And we even have to get up and down, so you don't have to walk up the stairs or the ramps. They have a lift station too for people to be able to get up and down. We want everyone to be able to see a part of your heritage here in the state of Arkansas. So that is a guide to the root cellar. This is a view down from one of the hills looking at the Children's Herb Garden, which right now, the mountain garden, right now is being renovated. And to the left is a shelter there where we have activities that children can play some of the old games that they had from back in the day. And back over further to the left is where the apothecary shop is. And Miss Linda, who has gracefully donated one of our door prizes today, she does soap classes, not the old-fashioned kind where you had to render lard and all of that. She does a cold process soap making class. And I brought some examples that I've learned from her from soap making today too. But this is a garden that is not going to be like walking through garden where you're seeing tens of thousands of things in bloom. These are things that people would have used at the turn of the 20th century. And many times, doctors just weren't available to them. However, the people that started, the lady that started the herb gardens up there, Billie Jo Tatum, her husband, whom she met at Washington Baptist University, was a doctor, and they went back. I think he was originally from Batesville, and they returned back to the Stone County area. So he practiced medicine and she practiced herbalism and got these gardens started and going, and also mentored a lot of people too. And she used herbs as an adjunct to therapy, because back then, we're thinking 1920s and 30s and 40s, malaria was still a big thing in Arkansas, and several other diseases that they didn't have vaccinations for or actual antibiotics and treatments for. So they turned to herbs as a preventative mostly. Here are some of the craftspeople. They are waiting there for you in some of their shops. And over to the right in this picture, you will see that is, they call the blacksmith stage, and that's where all that great music is coming from, that during the day when you're visiting the Ozark Folk Center. It's open from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Tuesday through Saturday, closed on Sunday and Monday. And you do enter through an administration building or through a gift shop. And let me mention to you, you're not going to want to drop drive to the very top of that mountain, they have a nice parking area for you, and they will shuttle you up there. They're right there waiting for you. So you can walk, though. They have a whole bunch of steps if you want to get that cardio treatment in while you're walking up there. But for those of us that have a little problem with getting up and down so much, they do shuttle you up there. And to the left is another one of the little shops, and on down through the back behind there, you'll see that little pavilion in the very back left. That's an area where it's behind the rose garden, and there's places for you to sit and shelter, to eat lunch, and you can't see it from this building, but they have an heirloom kitchen in that area. It's a little indoor restaurant, and he has wonderful food, but he is known, Ethan Frazier runs that now, and he has heirloom recipes from his grandmother, famous for his molasses ginger cookies and scones. This is also at the top of the walkway. You're looking down through. This was fall. Most of my pictures are from autumn. I somehow left them on a different phone, I guess, that I had other pictures of spring. And then I mentioned to you about the Skillet restaurant. Like I said, my things aren't in order. The Skillet restaurant is on the very top of the mountain. They do have some parking below them, and you do have to walk, but they do have a couple of parking places right up there by the restaurant. There again, for people that need to have access through ADA accommodations. Oh, and this, people, it's not some kind of a creature. This is, anybody know what this is?
Witch hazel.
Pardon me?
Witch hazel.
Witch hazel, that's right. That's a blossom of witch hazel. So when I was walking up there, and this is a shanty cabin, so when I was walking up there in February for our Herb Society meeting, and everything is, terribly dormant, there's nothing colorful going on, the witch hazel was blooming. And it is a native of ours, and we know that there are a lot of things that the early settlers used, the early pioneers, and still use as witch hazel astringents. This is the Shannon cabin and the front part of it, and you can see our sidewalks there. To the left, I'm looking at what that is, and I can't tell exactly right now, but normally as you come up that hill there, this is the end of the summer. They have, on this huge hillside, they have in pots scented geraniums, pelargoniums, which come from South Africa. But that was a key pass-along plant that gave people much joy. It was very popular during Victorian times. And of course, we know the English had a huge impact on the settlers that kept coming west and into the Ozarks and settling them. The Shannon cabin was not there immediately when they opened up the park. This was built years later. Actually, it was reconstructed from another site. So you can walk in there, and they usually have an interpreter in there that can tell you about life for people in the Shannon cabin, cabins like this in the Ozarks. And actually, this is a pretty fancy one. But you can see one room in there, and that's where they did all their cooking, sleeping, eating, and everything. Very rustic. This should have been my second slide. This is the administration building at the top of the mountain. And you're looking across from the Skillet restaurant at that. And that's the visitor center entrance. And right in the front of it, which looks very bland right now in this picture, is the kitchen garden. And here we have, as you can see, it's wintertime. The thyme and other gray foliaged herbs are dormant. A lot of people, unfortunately, pull these things out thinking they're dead. They're not. They're just sleeping. And then we have placards everywhere to show people how to do these things, how to raise a kitchen garden, what to plant in a kitchen garden. And it's really interesting because this is some more thyme, several different types of thyme. Native plants are very popular now, our native plants from Arkansas, and pollinator beds and butterfly beds. So people have really gotten into this in the last 5 to 10 years. And it's interesting how many herbs that are naturally around us and that you can forage for, or other ones that people have been using and transplanting to our area, how much they also attract pollinators and the uses that we have for them in your native plants. So here you are. When you walk into the building, the administration building, this is one of the displays that they have, and it gives you the history. I don't want to show you everything because then you wouldn't want to go. This tells you about their music and how they got started with this. The stage is shown there also. It also goes through the founding story of all the people that got together and had something to do with this. And the people of the Ozarks, a hardy group of people, determined people. Then they talk about our crafts, and we have pottery, of course, there also. The Heritage Herb Garden tells you how that got started. And this is at the very top of the hill. That is kind of, these little garden beds are going to be planted with our herbs of the year. Every year, the International Herb Society comes up with the herb of the year. Last year, it was ginger. And yes, we can grow ginger in Arkansas. It is a tropical, but it is something that we can start in a greenhouse or in our house, and then you plant it outdoors, but you got to harvest it before a frost. And it does quite well here. The little canopy that is over that was to help protect some of the seedlings that they had planted there. This is a view from at the top of the hill, looking down at the back side of the Shannon cabin. Obviously, this is also in late fall, early winter. And there's not much going on that you can see above ground there in the Heritage Herb Gardens. But we have walkways going through there. So you will see these areas will normally have things like Solomon's seal, golden seal. A lot of natives were brought into these gardens from out and around the areas that people foraged for. And this is also another view. So as you can see, we kind of let things just do their own natural thing, because remember, this untidy looking garden is a nursery for all those pollinators and natural predators that we have, like insect predators. So if you cut all of these old weeds down in the fall and the winter, then you're also ruining the abode for many of these pollinators that are pupating in these areas or overwintering. So you don't want your gardens to be too neat and tidy. Otherwise, if you're trying to go for pollinators, then you're kind of destroying them. And that's looking down also into the children's mountain garden. Here it tells you what the purpose of the Heritage Herb Garden is, where people and plants connect in the Ozarks, gardens and forests, alive with butterflies, birds, frogs, lizards, and pollinators, flourish throughout the park. Herb is defined as any plant that is used for food, flavor, fragrance, or medicine. The garden is home to many native plants. Others were brought from their distant homelands. Each plant has a story of its origins and purposes. And let me mention, we have these garden tags throughout the the planted beds. It's not just one specific bed. We have many different garden areas throughout the park. And the nice thing about this is one of our wonderful botany trained people, Kathleen Knoll, who's also one of our speakers that comes to us from up in the Ozarks. And I believe she lives in Yellville. Anyway, she trained at university there in Missouri. And she makes and researches the history out and makes it of all these different plants. And she has quite a great presentation on how the plants got here that she usually will talk to us about for any of our specifics at some of our programs. Anyway, she makes these placards for us. This is, now you can see the hill that's outside the Shannon cabin, the front side of it. This is where we normally will have, after the season begins to warm up, the pelargoniums, which are scented geraniums in pots, and some other cultivars. But this hillside is the top of the root cellar, and chickweed grows there and many other forageable herbs that we go ahead and harvest from that to make foodstuffs as well as salves from. This, anybody know what this is? This is a Wardian case. I'll go back and show that to you again. It was an invention by the British physician and botanist, Dr. Nathaniel Ward, in 1833, and is important to the story of how plants were moved around the world. This is how plants were taken. It was made of glass, and if you'll notice, this one has the hinges on it are made of leather. Kathleen Knoll's husband did this for us. It's on display here. But if you ever wondered how people like Darwin got their plants back on a ship, because, you know, weather wasn't always very nice. It was kind of like a miniature greenhouse. And this is how they transport their specimens back to England to be studied. And then I talked to you briefly about pass-along plants. And many of our favorite garden plants are true heirlooms that have been passed along for generations. Any plant that freely reseeds, is easy to divide, or root to a cutting can be shared by gardening friends and family. I think our Master Gardener plant sale is probably one of the greatest examples of pass-along plants that you can get, because most of these plants are things that our Master Gardeners have cultivated and propagated from their own gardens. So we know that when you're getting a plant from the Master Gardener plant sale, that it has been growing here in Arkansas. So it's acclimated already to our growing conditions in this area. And that's one of the big pushes and pluses for having plants that come from there, as opposed to ones that are brought in from Alabama and other places. And that's not to say those others won't grow, but we know these ones will thrive. And boy, do we have some beautiful plants to share with you in April. I mean, I've already seen the greenhouses. It's amazing. Here we are again with our witch hazel. This was blooming on the witch hazel tree at the top of the mountain above the apothecary shop when I was walking through. There's pelargoniums that, this is Tina Marie Wilcox hands in this photo that was taken. Tina Marie Wilcox is our head herb gardener, has been there. This is her 40th year.
Wow.
She studied underneath several predominant people in the field, but Miss Tatum that I mentioned to you before, Billy Joe, this was one of her students, and she was also sent along to be interned with people like Stephen Foster. And if you're in the herb world, you know who these people are, and the plants of herbs, and Jim Long and others. And she is just, I think Demetra can tell you, she is a repository of unbelievable information. And she does have a book that she wrote in collaboration with another wonderful food stylist, herbalist, author, and Susan Belsinger, called The Creative Herbal Home. And that is also one of our door prizes today that you will get. And we've been after Tina Marie to really think about doing another book, because she just has too much information to keep to herself. But she does share it a lot with different programs that they have up there. She has a greenhousing program, a soil program, gardening in the Ozarks, which has many similarities to the Washita Mountain area. This is not one of the slides I had originally wanted to show you, but this is one of my gardens at home with the lemon balm and garlic. I love to garden through the winter, through fall and winter. So that's one of my, I don't know exactly how that got on here, but there it is. And that bloom on the right side, that whitish bloom up there, who says you can't grow rhubarb in Arkansas?
Oh,
Yes, you can.
Wow.
And we were saving, my granddaughter and I were saving the seed head to propagate the seeds, because I have no idea what cultivar that was. I just got the root somewhere once upon a time. There it goes. This was just a little chart also I had really intended just to show you what some of the uses of some of the herbs that were grown through there, as far as being mosquito and flea repellent, fly repellent. And did you all know that peppermint, strong mints in the mint family help deter rodents like mice? I didn't know if many people knew that. They really hate that. Here is one of the classes I was doing last fall for Herb Society of America. We have classes of things. This was a make it and take it class. We were taking elderberries that my husband and I had grown and dried, and we were making, putting together elderberry kits. So that's some other things that we do for fun and for people to learn. This is a succulent garden that you will see there. Succulents are a great pass-along plant that many of our people have always enjoyed. And I think that's the end of those slides, and so I need to go back over. Am I hitting the right thing yet? I have to go over now to a different account, I think. But I better log this up so I can see you. Yes, so like I said, I'll be the front rower on those technology classes. You do? Well, I didn't want to go over it anymore. So, should I go over to that other thing now? Okay, thank you. Thank goodness for younger people. Well, there's plenty of older people too that know how to do this stuff. This is the group that was at that elderberry kit making program that we had. We had Stone County Master Gardeners as well as Master Naturalists come to this. It was a really fun day. I wanted to talk to you a moment about some of the speakers that we have come to we have a seminar. The Ozark Folk Center sponsors a herbal seminar in the spring. We call it the Spring Extravaganza. And we also have one in the fall that they support. Well, they actually promote that. And we used to have the medicinal one in the spring, but now we've changed that to the fall because we wanted people to we go on foraging hikes for these. And so on the foraging hike, we thought it would be good after several years to see how things look in the fall. Now, when we say it's a medicinal workshops, we're not getting into specifics on, no one's going to get up there and tell you this particular herb cures cancer, this does that. These are just talking about some things that people did use them for. For instance, I did bring these plants. This is yarrow. It is the herb of the year from the International Herb Society. This is your native yarrow. It's a white yarrow, and this one's about to bloom. This is an example, also some plants that we have in our greenhouses for our plant sale on April the 19th and 20th. But the yarrow was used by the Native Americans, and also it grows in the steppes over in East Asia, and Western Asia, and people were using this as a styptic powder. They take the dried leaves and they use it as a styptic to blood stop. Its formal name is Achillea millifolia, which is named after Achilles because remember when he supposedly in mythology had his heel was bleeding, and that was his vulnerable point for him to be able to be conquered. At any rate, supposedly this was something that they could use to stop bleeding. It has other culinary uses as well. But that is one of the plants that will be featured this year. And the book that will be about that is Kathleen Canoli has been the editor for it. Last year, she did this beautiful book, and I hope you guys will come and look at this. This was ginger, and this was a wonderful, wonderful book. The International Herb Society puts out a book every year for an herb of the year. And ginger was last year, and this book about yarrow is about to be released. And it has not only culinary uses, but it also tells you a lot of the history of the plant and the different cultivars. And of course, our native, which is white, I just think the ferny looking leaves are just gorgeous. But it comes in other colors, but it's not the millefolium one. It's a different cultivar. And if you're going to use it for certain things, you have to research that out, depending upon what use you want. Because sometimes these things are part of what we call a bitter herb. So you want to be careful how you're using that. But that was just an example of one of the things. So what I was going to show you here, and I also have this book, Wild Forage, written by Rachel West. This is a young, up-and-coming herbalist, and she is exciting. Rachel has a program where she trains other herbalists, but big foraging. She showed us, she came and spoke to us last year, and she's from the Ozarks in Missouri, and she showed us how to make pasta from plants that you had foraged. So, really nutritionally sound things. You can live off the land. If things get really bad, folks, you can live off the land. Arkansas has so much flora, it's amazing to me. Now, if you're a meat eater, carnivore, then you're going to have to look probably a little harder for some things. Although elk have been reintroduced after they were wiped out, I think, in the 30s from the Ozarks. But she has this book, and she also has a blog spot and a website too. But Rachel West, please come and look at her book when we're done up here today. Okay, let's see. And then we had another wonderful guy, and he taught Rachel a lot, Bo Brown. Bo Brown wrote this book, Foraging the Ozarks. He comes and speaks to us often. He is so mesmerizing when he speaks. This man has experienced much. He started out as a bird watcher for the Audubon Society. And he decided way back several decades ago that if he was going to find the birds that he wanted to find, he needed to find out what they ate. And that's how he got into foraging. But he also has a lot of great practical survival skills too. So these are just examples of some of the people that come and speak to us there. Mm-hmm. Oh, and I also did want to mention, this is not my corgi. But I did chance upon this, Corey, the park is dog friendly if your dog's on leash. So a lot of people need to know that because they don't want to leave their babies behind, or you may have a service animal. They're welcome there. Okay, let's see here. Okay, this, when I was talking about spring extravaganza, our seminars, this was our Fall Harvest Festival. We were studying Australia, New Zealand, and the kind of herbs and things that might have influenced us here. Who knew? Anyway, we set up a reception. The Herb Society of America Ozark unit has a reception on Thursday night before we have a banquet dinner. And that will be coming up this May the 2nd. Is that what I told you, Deb? Yeah. May the 2nd. And it'll be the spring extravaganza. You can find out more information about this and purchase tickets for it online if you go to the Ozark Folk Center State Park website and you look under events, and they will direct you to Ticket Leap is where you order that. But anyway, this was just reception food that we had. And one of the things that we featured was not only the Vegemite that the Australians are so proud of. It's a spread that is an interesting spread that they make from fermented settlings that are essentially, after making beer, they have quite a beer industry there. And so they were trying to figure out what they could do to get some nutritious spread for them. And apparently this was packed along into all of their soldiers' bags for survival and everything. Anyway, it's interesting. So we made our take on it. And then we also did hibiscus is grown very well there. New Zealand has a lot more variety in their foodstuffs. But this was just an example of some of the things that we had that were edibles. I just thought this was cute. So many weeds, so little time. It was a napkin that the Committee of 100, our herb plant department chair for the Committee of 100, Ray McKim, came up with some things that we do at the end of our seminar. We have the dinner on a Thursday night, and then on Friday and Saturday we have a seminar that various topics. You can also look that up on the Ozark Folk Center website to see what they're going to be talking about, who the featured speakers are. But at the end of that, on Saturday, we always have a fond farewell that the Committee of 100 sponsors for all the attendees. Lunches are included in your fees for that particular seminar programs. And so this was one of the things that we gave to people last year, along with some treats to help them on their way, because we do have people that come from long distance to our seminars. Anybody know what this plant is? This is a garlic chive. Now, the regular purplish chives that we have, they're come out in spring, early summer. The garlic chives are a summer bloomer, which I think is so neat when everything's really hot and starting to look yucky and you're just like, oh my gosh, is it ever going to end? Up comes garlic chives. These make wonderful condiments I take the buds and I make vinegars with them. They're just wonderful. Use it like a rice wine vinegar. Also, if you get it when the bud is just starting, before they actually turn white, you can use the little green seed heads. I'm sorry, not before, but after they bloom, the little seed head, before it turns black, you can use that like capers. You can pickle them like capers. Or you can take them and just throw them in a pan with stir fry. They're quite delicious and garlicky, but a mild garlic. You'll see those growing there as well. This is jewelweed. Those of us that are into old-time remedies know that jewelweed is one of the things that we use to tincture and make for poison ivy rash, to help get rid of rashes. And it itself grows wild in the Ozarks, and we have examples of that there as well. Another succulent, this one is called ogre's ears. It's kind of interesting. If you could really look at this closely, you could see how this could be an ogre's ear. It's an interesting succulent. I was just showing you some of the pass-along plants that we have there, and we also have an herb shop with plant sale. This is lemongrass. There are two kinds of lemongrass. One is culinary, another one is used for fragrance oils. And oh yes, pelargoniums, scented geraniums. These come from South Africa, pass-along plant that was very popular. I have one of these up here too today. And I hope you guys will all come and look at this. Now, this is my mother plant. This is a chocolate mint. The pelargoniums grew in South Africa on the cliffs. There are all kinds of varieties of these. They've become so popular. The scent comes from underneath the leaf. So be sure and just gently rub your fingers on that. This one was in the greenhouse, and it's looking a little winter worn. It's ready for spring. You'll see it has a lot of new growth bracts on it. This is going to be propagated. I'll be using this as a mother plant to take cuttings from. But this is just one example. This one likes to ramble. It was in a hanging basket. Many of the others like to be more upright. Most of you are probably familiar with mosquito plant. That is a Pelargonium citronella. And the leaves can be dried. Some of the leaves people use for potpourris. There is rose of attar and several other rose-scented geraniums, lemon, rhubards, lemon rose. I mean, there are literally over 100 varieties. Nutmeg was one that my mother grew that was hanging and stuff, and it smelled so wonderful. But she used to take the leaves and put them in the bottom of a simple cake and bake it, and that gave a nice fragrance and flavor to the cake. You know, simple things for simple people. And many times you can use culinary, but they also have some that they take the essence from to use in perfumery. Also, you can use them for, like I mentioned, potpourri, but some of them don't have much scent at all. They're just oak leaf. They're just beautiful. I'm trying to really encourage people to find these and ask your garden centers for them because they're just lovely to have in your home and something that stays nice and green. And you can overwinter them nicely in a sunny window. We have lots of these up there for different types for people to see. And here again, anybody know what this is? It's a native plant, it's a buckeye. This is not the edible kind. But back in the day, people used to use these. They put them in a big bag and throw them in a pond when they were getting nice and ripe. And they would throw them in a pond, I was told, and that would bring the fish up. I don't think that's something that we really should do, but that was what one of the uses were. But they are kind of unusual and pretty. And there's some more succulents, another part of our succulent gardens. And this is a Plectanthus, which there are oodles of different kinds of these. This one kind of smells like oregano. It's got a fuzzy leaf. And behind it is a scented geranium mother plant. Corn flour, used in dyes and food. They're edible, just like these are edible. You're probably going to recognize some of these pass-along plants. Oh, that was Ed and I hiking. I don't know, this shouldn't be in here because this was out in the Olympic rainforest. This is what I did want to show you. We do have on our medicinal workshops and foraging, we had 2 groups of people last year. And in the forefront, on the right bottom there is Susan Belsinger, and she comes from Maryland. She's a food stylist, has many books. She also does podcasts, which were fabulous. She had one recently that was all about everything elderberry, which was fabulous. But she's a noted author. I have a couple of her books here too that you can see. She comes and shares her knowledge with us often. She belongs to the Herb Society of America, the Potomac unit. And she comes, and as we're speaking, she is here in the Ozarks today, giving presentations on all kinds of things, harbingers of spring, things that you can do with things. But one of my favorite classes that she ever did was on fermentation. But Kathleen Cannoli is over there on the far right as well with the white shirt. She's our horticulture expert. And then Tina Marie is standing there next to her and right behind Susan with a hat on, and she's our head gardener herbalist at the Herb Gardens. That's Bo Brown in the middle with the white t-shirt on. And Rebecca West is in the front middle with the white hat on. So you see, we do have young people. It's not just all those gray-haired older people that get into these things. And it's so, here was a second group. We try to do 2 groups of people so that we don't leave a heavy footprint, because when we go out hiking, we're in the Leatherwood Wilderness. We don't want to do any harm to the flora that isn't there. But that's another picture of Susan in the very front, and this was another group of people that we had that went on the hike. This was my grandson and I. He was my IT person. Unfortunately, he passed away last December, and he was my hiking buddy. He didn't get to teach me enough. And I'm a slow learner when it comes to that. This, I just want to show you, when we were hiking, the lady that is out there, I was so impressed by this. This was in the Leatherwood Wilderness, and it was pretty hot, even though it really wasn't that time of year. Shauna Dawkins, she was a nurse midwife and a health practitioner, and she's an herbalist, well-renowned. She got out there in the water, in the river, to tell us about the ancient formation of the Ozark Mountains, which is far different than most of the other mountains in the area. And it was just amazing to me, but she totally embraced this. And another wealth of knowledge in her geology. It was just amazing to me because I got to thinking as I was looking around at all the plants and trees that were in this area, that their DNA is ancient, from ancient times. These things were here prehistory, if you know the history of how the Ozarks were developed. It was very impressive. There we are. There is our little Miss Rebecca West from up in the Ozarks out there also talking about foraging. This is Bo Brown looking under every little bush, nook and cranny, identifying plants for us. And I mean, boy, does he know his plants. This is Tina Marie, again with my grandson, enjoying a little break. Kathleen and her husband. See, we just have people from all walks of life that come to enjoy, like-minded people enjoying the Ozark Mountains. Of course, sassafras with a little ladybird on there. This was our gathering in the Leatherwood Wilderness. We were kind of dropped off out there. This fella, I have just a few minutes left. This fella is my husband, who graciously was my Uber driver last summer. I had to have a shoulder replacement, and I wasn't allowed to drive for a while. But I got to be a docent worker up at the Ozark Folk Center. So Ed was here helping me sort milkweed. And it was great in the plant center because the way it was brought in was just a bag somebody had harvested. This is not the best way to harvest milkweed. Anyway, he was diligent and was sorting those seeds through there, but every time the door opened and someone would come in, we had crumbs everywhere. But he persevered, and here he was working with garlic chives, which was a little bit easier to work with. But yeah, I have to hand him a lot of credit. He was very indulgent with me because he knew I was getting really nervous being penned up. So he'd drive me up there at least every week, and we'd spend the day. And here's some of the plants that we have on display in the plant center. This is Lunaria, money plant, some people call it. It's biennial, beautiful pink flowers the first year. The second year, you have these beautiful silver dollar-like seed pods, and we gather those. So that was a wonderful pass-along plant. That was one of Grandma's favorites. Here's another display showing you some indigo. Lots of different things we have in there for study. Oh yeah, another one of our favorite things is culinary classes. Susan had combined with Jeanette Larson, who was a cheese-making person. They have cheese-making classes there. And also Ethan Frazier, who has the Heirloom Kitchen, who did the focaccia. So we started at the beginning. We made our own cheese. We made our own sauce and everything. And there's Ed getting ready to enjoy the end result. It was good because naturally lots of herbs on that. This is Tina Marie in the greenhouse unwrapping the cool greenhouse. The rosemary is blooming like crazy. She does greenhousing classes, also organic. And this is just showing you a little bit of there working in one of the greenhouses with propagation. Here she is tending to some tropical pass-along plants. And here's some more hikers. We had a first day hike, first day of January, not this past year, wasn't very good weather, but the year before. And I got my family in the act. We went up there and we were doing a hike that was centered around the Ozark Folk Center. Beautiful area. There's City Park. CCC built some beautiful stoneworks there. It's a lovely hike. It was not challenging as far as being difficult. We had a great time and it was almost 70 degrees that day. It was unbelievable. You never know in Arkansas what you're going to get. This is two of my granddaughters. One of our herb festivals seminars had featured foods of Japan, and they were dressed. Grace in the middle had a Master Gardener scholarship to go to Arkansas Tech. She graduated there in 3 years with a degree in horticulture. She is now at the University of Arkansas and is a graduate student. And Olivia is from Maine. This is another granddaughter of mine. This is her with the dark hair in the front, and she comes down for our seminars. And Olivia studies sustainable environmental gardening at the University of Maine. And here we are making sushi. We were learning from Deb Jolly about that. And I just wanted to tell you, because I'm just about out of time, I haven't gone through my 115 slides, but I told her I can talk about anything. If you go to the area, it's a very enriching area. This is a swinging bridge that you can drive over. It's just a couple miles down the road from the Ozark Folk Center. So there's a lot of places to explore because this is on Silomore Creek that runs into the White River. And the White River is fabulous. They have a lot of beautiful places there that you can stay or you can eat. It's just a lovely area. And my favorite of all herbs is elderberry. These are elderflowers. And folks, they're going to be blooming soon. And you can use them. My mother was Austrian, and she used to take the flower, the whole flower head, and she would dip it in a light batter and fry it up like a fritter and serve that with powdered sugar on it. There the girls are at the back of the Skillet restaurant. These are asters. We've had those at the plant sale there at the Ozark Folk Center too. They always have plants on sale when they're open. This is Olivia with some things at home. Sweet Annie, which was a malaria. They used it for malaria before they had quinine. And these are some of her gardens that she's working with, her test gardens there at the University of Maine. That's a niece hyssop with her. And Ed, my wonderful husband, tending to our elderberry patch at home. And just another thing to let you know, I got these hops vines from the Ozark Folk Center, and they're growing my hops there at the house. If you just don't have to use them for beer, folks, you can use hops to make dream pillows. They do make you sleepy and help you rest better. Okay, I guess I better quit. Oh, sauerkraut, we learned how to make fermented foods from Susan. Elderberry syrup. Oh, there's two of my little granddaughters. And an echinacea patch, things that they learned about there that we've all learned about how to cultivate. And even during COVID, they were open, masked. There's Deb Jolly talking to Gracie and some of the other kids about plant propagation. Bay tree right outside the Skillet restaurant. Bay laurel tree. I have a start from that is about this high now at home. I keep cutting it back. There, you see, it's a great place for kids. Now, I do need to get this in real quick. Grace is here with a pea pod in her hair, and it is the flower. This is something I brought for you each today. If you want, you can turn the lights back on. These are whippoorwill cow peas. They're a southern pea, and they were harvested up there at the Ozark Folk Center. I have a package for each of you. They are so fragrant, but they are delicious. You cook them just like you would black-eyed peas or purple hull peas, except they're just a little smaller, a little more tender, and you can use them in the green stage or dry. They keep well. When I harvest mine, I stick them in a glass container, put them in my freezer, and then take them out and plant in the spring. This doesn't look like much, but if you get a few of these started, you can harvest your own. I'm a big proponent of seed savers. Try saving seeds. These are some of the easiest ones to start with, but they are delicious and nutritious. So I'll have these in the back of the room for each of you to make sure you get one before you leave today. I have a few other booklets there for you. I talked to you about the plants. I have some of the books that tell you more about the Ozarks. And I also wanted to show you, this is yarrow when you dry it. This was from my pasture. Now that I don't have dairy goats anymore, I can actually find things. They're browsers, they don't eat grass. They go around eating they love your roses too. And if they get out, they love to tap dance on the hood of your car. We have woodworking people there. This is a beautiful toothpick holder or Q-tips, whatever you want to use it for. We have broom makers. And I know someone thought this was my ride today. Sassafras, he uses all different kinds, and they'll tell you what different kinds of wood they use for these things. But we have broom makers up there in the craft village, and they do apprenticeships. These are things that people use, different utilitarian uses. This one was called the hen's wing. Apparently they use that for cleaning off the tables, because a lot of people have dirt floors. And all kinds of brooms that they have up there. And the one lady that is at the apothecary shop that donated one of her packs today, she taught me soap making, but now this is some of the soaps that I made just to kind of look at those, just to get an idea. This was made with goat's milk. It's lavender and goat's milk. And I try to use natural coloring with everything. This is peppermint in the middle, spearmint on the outside, and it's a honey base. Now, these were melt and pour. These were not cooked from scratch type things, but just gives you an idea of some things you can do. She'll teach you all kinds of that when she has her classes up there. Shamrocks, this was eucalyptus and peppermint, kind of helps you breathe better in the shower. Yeah. Then, of course, there's the books, Troy Odom, Old Time Print Press. If you ever knew how printing used to be, oh my goodness. It was a long time to set your type, but he made these beautiful Christmas cards for me. This one I received from a lovely lady as a Christmas card, and I had to keep it. And I have a whole bunch of these cards too. But there's just so many different things out there that people do to help revive and keep things alive for us to enjoy in this day and age. Is there any questions? Sure.
How to purchase herb starter plants that are
Well,
from there?
when, you have to go
You
there,
have to go.
because they don't do a mail order or anything, and see what they have. I know they have a lot of yarrow this year, but I would still encourage you. We have, what is the solar eclipse is like, the 8th.
Yeah.
John Morrow, our superintendent up there, said, don't come up here during that time. It's gonna be crazy. Their housing and cabins and everything is just like booked up so much already. Say, come out. They officially open April, I believe, the 1st or 2nd. And then we close down, the Ozark Folk Center closes down officially at the end of October. However, you can still get in. You just won't get to enjoy the music, through the park. But we also have the concerts that I was going to talk about. But to purchase the plants, you would have to be there to get them. But I would encourage you to go to our plant sale because we're going to have a lot of herbs this year at our plant sale. I think that on the Learning Greenhouse that she started a lot of natives from seed this year, that the people working there, well, Diana could even speak to that.
A lot.
But I know what I've seen at both of the big plant houses are just packed full of things.
So other than that, then in general, where, just on an everyday basis, where would I go to get good?
Well, the Herb Society of America, the Little Rock unit, they sell herbs. But, if you want to, you have your very own master gardener, Debbie Tripp, who raises plants.
Yeah.
Can I say that?
Farmer's market every weekend.
Yeah. She goes all over the state with herbs. And, if you ask for something, some of your garden centers might get, a lot of the everybody says, oh, we get basil and all that stuff, comes in from a well-known plant company that comes from out of state. But there again, if you can propagate your own or get some that are locally grown, you're going to be more successful with it because they're acclimated to our area. And the Ouachita Mountains are very similar to the Ozarks. We do get a bit hotter, but, a couple degrees, and they get more snow. But at any rate, I just really believe it's really good if you can go with someone that's growing stuff locally, and Deb's right here. And then we also have one of our master gardeners from the village, Miss Jarvis. I'm not.
Marion Jarvis.
Yeah, she has herb plant sales too from her yard. So just ask a master gardener, we'll point you in the right direction. And let me get in one big blurb here real quick, and also about the concerts that we give in our beautiful auditorium that seats 1,000 people. You can go through and spend the day in the herb gardens and all along the folk center, and then in the evening, go to one of the concerts they have. On April the 20th, we have the Next Generation, which is a part of the Music Roots program, which the Committee of 100 helps sponsor to help promote, and starts in 4th grade for all the area students there. So we have people that move into Stone County and stuff to go to those schools just so their kids can learn to play these instruments. They have dulcimer shops and stuff there. But the concert itself will be on April the 20th, and those also, if you go to Ozark Folk Center website, it'll tell you how to get tickets for that. Not expensive. Then, let me mention to you, I didn't know much about country music because, like I said, that was not my past. But last summer, when Ricky Skaggs played here at Oaklawn, he has deep roots in the Ozark Mountains, folks. And he loves kids and he loves our music roots program. He came up there the next night and played. They sold tickets out at a wonderful price too, within 32 hours. They sold out 1,000 seats. And so we have, starting March the 30th, if I'm correct, if you look there again at the concert series that's on Celebrity Series for this summer in July, Marty Stewart is coming to us up there. So for those of you that enjoy, they always incorporate the kids in with it too. And it's just, you can't believe, my husband could attest to it. The Silent Special won the Bluegrass Band of the Year. All of us see them. And they're from there. And you can see these young people that are there. It's amazing. Okay, any other questions that I can help anybody with? If not, we have 4 nice gifts to give off to people.
We have a question from the live stream.
Oh, it works.
Somebody would like to know where you can go and take a Master Gardener class in Little Rock, if there is one.
They would have that through the Pulaski County Extension Office. they need to, whatever county they reside in, they need to just contact their county extension agent. And that's through the University of Arkansas program that sponsors that. And they'll be getting classes up, going again online, I believe, in the fall. And then we have, usually the live classes are up in the spring. Well, through the winter, I guess, really. But their extension agent would be able to get right on that for them. They're always looking for people that want to be master gardeners. Anything else?
Or we need to take-